Welcome, dear friends, to Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with the Spirit of Truth. The Spirit of Truth is this gift from above. The day we realize the gift and the treasures that we receive in Spiritism that set us free from our own prejudices, from myths within ourselves. Today, we're going to talk about a sensitive topic. It's about wealth. And Emmanuel, the spirit that coordinated the effort of this book 60 years ago, through two mediums, Chico, Xavier, and Waldo Vieira, he comes to talk about wealth and happiness. He comes to tell you and I a new way of seeing wealth. Did you know that Emmanuel wrote a book named Money? Yes, in Portuguese, dinheiro. There is a whole book psychographed by Chico Xavier titled Money, Dinheiro. This was translated and published. You can easily find it. And the book revisits what money is all about. What about wealth? How do you do with it? It's a question for us. Emmanuel revisits a parable that was told by Jesus, the parable of the evil rich man, which is quoted in chapter 16. You cannot serve both God and mammon in the gospel according to Spiritism. Item 5, the parable of the evil rich man. He had a lot and he didn't care about giving to anyone, but Lazarus, the other man who was poor, suffered so much. But when both discarnated, Jesus says in the Bible, in the story, the parable, that Lazarus ascended, whereas the rich man, who was not a good rich man, he didn't receive the laurels that he wanted in the afterlife. So it's so interesting to observe that there is the evil rich man, which means that not every rich person is evil. No. Do you feel like money is evil? Many people do. Why? Because we abused it in many lives. But in the very Bible, in the New Testament, we're going to find the redefinition of it all. Jesus never said money is evil. But we're going to see later at Paul's time, as reported in First Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and some people craving money have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. These were instructions from Paul to Timothy. By the way, let us read Paul of Tarsus' story in the book Paul and Stephen and get to know the story of the behind the scenes of these letters. He was teaching in Christ consciousness. He was teaching Timothy. It's a beautiful story. And he's telling us money is not the problem, but the love for money, love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. How many people wander away from true faith and create many sorrows? So many people, because, oh, I need to make a career, I don't have time for my spirituality, I have to do this, that, and the other, but I have to pay mortgage, Vanessa. Well, but if we don't nourish ourselves, what is the point of collecting all that money? So we really need to revisit the way we see and the way we feel about money. That's why Emmanuel is here today. What an honor for us. Because as we know in the Spiritist literature, when we read from an author, we're connected to the author. So we are very grateful to Emmanuel and the medium Chico Xavier. On March 31st, we in Spiritism celebrated the completion of a Kardec's mission in the anniversary of his discarnation. And 2 days later, April 2nd, we're celebrating Chico Xavier's birthday. In that, we're going to express our gratitude for Chico Xavier, for Emmanuel, for illuminating our minds so we feel the vibrations of love. Let us then invite the truth into our minds because today Emmanuel is going to talk about wealth and happiness. And he says, there are rich of money, but so rich in greediness, usury, that they become poorer than the poorest beggars on the public road, who often don't even have bread. They are rich of knowledge, so rich of pride, that they make themselves poorer than the poorest savage, still far from darkness, in the darkness of intelligence. There are those who are rich of time, but so rich in laziness that they make themselves poorer than the poorest enslaved to the tasks of sacrifice. There are those who are rich of possibilities, but so rich in selfishness that they make themselves poorer than the poorest brothers in bitter expiations who lack everything to even help somebody. There are those who are rich of affection, but so rich in jealousy that they make themselves poorer than the poorest companions in rough trials when relegated to loneliness. Thus, remember that we are rich in something before the divine supply of divine goodness. Let us use the talents that life entrusts us with the mission of making happier those who surround you. The moment will come when you surprise yourself richer than all the rich of the earth, inasmuch as you will treasure in your heart the eternal happiness that flows from the love of God. What about you? Do you feel yourself wealthy, rich somewhat? We want to open the board here. For those who are listening to us, we're opening the whiteboard where we are going to write a few things because now it's an exercise for the soul. Emmanuel is telling us about being rich in ta ta ta. Number one, rich of money. But what do we do with money? Let's see what he says. They don't give it to anybody because they keep it only to themselves. They spend on things for themselves and only themselves alone. What about you? How much of our money do we share with others? 0.001. That's better than nothing, right? It's better than nothing, but we need to do more. But he doesn't stay there. He says there is the wealth of knowledge. We all have some knowledge that nobody else has. What are you good at? Maybe cooking, maybe cleaning, maybe reading, maybe studying, anything. And what are we doing with that knowledge? Then we keep it only to ourselves because we think, oh well, this knowledge that I have is for me. I paid so much to have this education, pride. So, reach of money that will lead us to greed, reach of knowledge that leads us to pride. I know some people say, I don't mingle with people who have no degree. Wow, that's pride. Wow, mamma mia. What about reach of, he says, reach of time, reach of time. That somewhat many of us are good with that. We have a lot of time, right? What do we do? Then we're lazy. A holiday came and we're like, whoa, looking forward to being on the couch all day long. Canceling everything. We need to be careful, very careful, because that's laziness. Of course, we can rest in the law of work, in the Spirit's book. We're going to know through Kardec and the mediums of the time that the limit to work is the limit of our forces, of our strength. But the question is, it's so subjective. The answer tells us it's up to each one of us. Then we need to push ourselves and say, I can always do more. Nowadays, with the wealth of information and videos on social media, I've come to know of people in their 70s, 80s, yes, their third age, who are physically so fit. Why? Because instead of sitting on the couch and doing nothing, they're working out. Yes, many of us have a lot of time that is misused. So we need to redefine the use of our time, categorize it, and be more on it. Yes, there's time for everything. There's time to groom ourselves. There's time to eat. There's time to work. There's time to exercise. We need to find enough discipline to use our time better and be less lazy. These are the Spiritist words. And now the reach of possibilities. Reach of possibilities. People, what is to be reach of possibilities? Well, it's not only about the people who are famous. We see children so creative. When we talk about possibilities, we're talking about creativity. And if we misuse it, because why do we misuse the possibilities? He says it here in the message. He says, because we're selfish. Yes, because of selfishness. I can, that's why possibility, can. I can go and help somebody, but I don't want to do it because this is my free time. Come on. Selfishness. I could send some people um, a book to illuminate their lives, but come on. I don't have the book myself, so I buy for me first. So that's a good test for selfishness. Would you give somebody a book you've never had yourself. Maybe you did, but that's a test. So possibilities that could happen and doesn't happen because we are self-centered. When he talk about reach of possibilities, he's teaching us that money, knowledge, time, possibilities are not for us alone. And that's where we misuse it all because of our self-centeredness. And he crowns that by telling us of being rich, and this is a phenomenal information. Reach of affection. Reach of affection. What is to be reach of affection? To be reach of affection is the one, the person who is capable, right, of loving who is not. But then we decide to confiscate it. I'm going to love only you. So then I develop jealousy. Yeah. Because I don't want to love the other person, but I want to love you and you're mine. Or, 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 I want you to love me only and not everybody else. Or you can't have that because what about me? So selfishness is the root to jealousy, root to envy. Everything comes from what? I will type it in. Everything comes from self-centeredness. Centeredness or egotism. Mhm. So you and I are being asked today to revisit this. Our relationship with money, with knowledge, with time, with possibilities, our creativity, and our capacity to love. If we don't allow it to flow, it stagnates in jealousy, in envy. So we need to get out of it. Why? To achieve happiness. So Emmanuel, at the end of the message, he finalizes with a wonderful recommendation. Remember that we are all rich in something before the divine goodness. Okay, I will type it in here. This is the final statement. We are rich. Remember, we are rich in something before the divine supply of divine goodness. God is so good that he makes us resourceful. This is fascinating. This is fascinating. And he says to us clearly that we need to use these talents to make people happy. And thus we'll find happiness. So, what are we waiting? Let us allow this old to go and letting the new. It's so much easier to think of others than to constrict ourselves and think, I need to keep this because what if, right? It's like that precious feeling from the Lord of the Rings. Precious, precious, precious. The love for money, the root of all evils. The root, the love for fame, love, love. The love that we have for God, we easily feel it and pass it on. So we need to bring God back to the center of our lives, back. And once we feel God there, everything is fine. Everything is fine. So the exercise in the next 24 hours for us is going to be what? To see, to measure our wealth. Where are you rich in? So I'll bring it back to the whiteboard. Rich of money, rich of knowledge, rich of time, rich of possibilities, rich of affection. What are we rich of? We must be rich in something because God is abundant. So now we invite you to this beautiful 24 hours. So in the next 24 hours, you and I are being invited to meditate about our wealth, our riches, the possibilities that come from God. Everything comes from God. And let us see how we can multiply to make somebody happier with our time, with our money, with our affection, with our possibilities, right? This is it for today. Let us feel ourselves with Emmanuel and Chico Xavier during the next 24 hours, finding out of our wealth and multiplying the talents to make somebody happier. At the end of the day, we're going to find ourselves happy as well. Thank you, friends. Let us be grateful to God for one more day here at Kardec Radio. Thank you, friends.